Hello, dear listeners. Welcome to the English Globe, the place where we explore the world and learn English together in a simple, clear, and enjoyable way. I am Adam, and today I am here with my wonderful co-host Julia, and we are very excited to share an important and interesting topic with all of you. Before we begin today's episode, we want to kindly ask you to support our channel by liking this video and subscribing to the English Globe, because your support helps our educational content reach more learners around the world. We would also love to hear from you, so please tell us in the comments where you are listening from and share your thoughts about today's topic. Your comments help us make better podcasts for you and also help other English learners feel connected to a global learning community.
Hello, dear listeners. I am Julia, and I am very happy to be here with Adam today for another informative and simple English discussion. We have a very important topic prepared for you, and we will explain everything step by step using clear and easy vocabulary so that you can learn English while learning about international events. Today's question is, why is South Korea strengthening its alliance with the United States? This is a very relevant and current topic because South Korea's partnership with the US plays a big role in Asian security, global trade, and international cooperation. Many people around the world want to understand why these two countries are working even more closely together, and today we will explain it in a calm and simple way.
Yes, Julia. South Korea is a very important country in Asia, known for its strong economy, advanced technology, modern industries, and cultural influence. It is home to major companies that shape global technology, entertainment, and manufacturing. Because of its important location and strong economic power, South Korea plays a key role in Asia, and its relationship with the United States affects not only the two countries, but also many others in the region. Understanding why South Korea is strengthening this alliance helps us understand bigger ideas about global cooperation, regional stability, and international strategy. And even if you are just starting to learn English, listening to these discussions can help you improve your vocabulary and understand words like alliance, partnership, security, influence, and cooperation.
Exactly, Adam. And we will explain all of these words and ideas clearly so that even beginner-level English learners can follow the conversation easily. Today we will talk about South Korea and the United States, why they work together, and how their partnership supports peace, stability, and development in Asia. We will also explain how global events, security challenges, and economic interests shape their decisions. Our goal is to make the topic understandable, interesting, and educational, without taking political sides or expressing opinions. We want to give you factual, simple, and useful information that helps you build confidence in English.
Before we go deeper, dear listeners, we want to remind you that this podcast is designed for education. We are here to help you understand global topics while improving your English listening and speaking skills. We do not promote political views or take positions. Instead, we use neutral, safe, and clear language to explain concepts like alliances, regional cooperation, diplomacy, security goals, and international partnerships. Listening carefully will help you understand these words and hear how they are used naturally in discussions about world events.
Yes, Adam. And dear listeners, we also want you to participate. Please tell us in the comments where you are listening from. Are you in South Asia, East Asia, the Middle East, Africa, Europe, or another part of the world? Knowing where our listeners come from helps us feel connected to you. Also, share your thoughts about today's topic. Why do you think South Korea is strengthening its alliance with the United States? Do you think this cooperation will make Asia more stable and peaceful? Sharing your thoughts helps you practice English and join our international community of learners.
We also want to encourage you to pay close attention to the English vocabulary we use during this episode. You will hear important terms like alliance, partnership, regional influence, security cooperation, diplomacy, strategy, trade, and development. These words are very useful for discussing international relations and global news. If any word is new for you, do not worry. Try to understand it from the context. Listen to how we use it in sentences and write it down to learn later. This is one of the best ways to build strong vocabulary naturally.
Exactly, Adam. Learning English through global topics is very effective because you hear important vocabulary used in real context. You learn how words connect to ideas, and you see how sentences are built in a natural conversation. Today's topic is not only important, but also an excellent opportunity to improve your listening skills, vocabulary, and sentence understanding. We will speak slowly and clearly so that you can follow the conversation and learn comfortably.
So, dear listeners, let us think about why today's topic matters. South Korea is one of the most advanced countries in the world, and its relationship with the United States has been strong for many decades. The U.S. has military, economic, and diplomatic partnerships in Asia, and South Korea is one of its key allies in the region. At the same time, Asia faces many challenges and opportunities, and understanding how countries cooperate helps us understand global news more clearly. For English learners, this is a wonderful way to learn real-world vocabulary in simple language.
Yes, Adam. And in this podcast, we will take you step by step through the reasons South Korea is strengthening its alliance with the US. We will talk about history, security, economics, technology, and regional events in a clear and friendly way. You will hear simple explanations of complex ideas, and we will repeat key points in different ways so that you can understand everything easily. Our goal is to make learning English and understanding the world enjoyable and stress-free.
Before we continue, we want to gently remind you to like this video if you enjoy our content and subscribe to the English Globe, because we post educational podcasts regularly. Writing your opinion in the comments also helps us a lot, and we enjoy reading your thoughts and learning where you are listening from. It makes us very happy to know that people from different countries are learning English with us and thinking about important global topics together.
Yes, Adam. And now that we have introduced today's topic and prepared our listeners, we are ready to dive deeper into the discussion. We will begin by explaining the history of the South Korea-United States alliance and how it has developed over time. Then we will explore the reasons South Korea continues to strengthen this partnership today. Everything will be explained slowly, clearly, and in simple English to support our learners.
So, dear listeners, thank you for joining us today on the English Globe. Relax, listen carefully, and enjoy this educational journey. You can pause and write down new words at any time. Now, let's begin exploring our main question. Why is South Korea strengthening its alliance with the United States? Dear listeners, now that we have introduced our topic, let us take a careful and simple look at the history of the South Korea-United States alliance. Understanding this history is important because it helps us see why these two countries continue to work closely together today. When we talk about history, we often hear many new words, so we will speak slowly and clearly to make everything easy for you to follow. The story begins after a major conflict called the Korean War, which took place from 1950 to 1953. This war had a huge impact on the Korean peninsula, and it shaped many of the decisions that came later. After the fighting ended, South Korea faced a difficult situation. The country needed support to rebuild its cities, its economy, and its security. At that time, the United States became one of South Korea's strongest partners, offering military assistance, economic help, and diplomatic support. This early cooperation laid the foundation for a long-lasting alliance that continues to shape events in Asia today.
That is right, Adam. The Korean War changed the region in many ways, and the partnership between South Korea and the United States became a key part of the post-war period. To understand this better, let us think about how the world looked during that time. After the war ended, the world entered a period known as the Cold War, which was a time of tension between different global powers. Many countries were choosing sides and forming partnerships to protect themselves and maintain stability. During this time, South Korea needed strong friends to help it grow and keep it safe from future threats. The United States became one of those friends and agreed to support South Korea through military cooperation and economic assistance. This support helped South Korea recover and gradually build a stronger and more secure society. Over many years, this cooperation grew deeper, and the relationship remained important even as the world continued to change.
Exactly, Julia. One of the most important parts of this early relationship was a security agreement known as a mutual defense treaty. This treaty meant that both countries promised to help each other if they faced danger or aggression. This agreement created a strong sense of trust and partnership between the two sides, and it helped ensure that South Korea felt protected during a time of uncertainty. Over the years, American military forces have remained present in South Korea, and their presence is part of the security framework that helps maintain peace on the Korean peninsula. For English learners, the word treaty means a formal agreement between countries, usually about cooperation, peace, or security. The Mutual Defense Treaty became a key part of the South Korea-US alliance and continues to be important today because it reminds both sides of their shared commitment to safety and stability.
Yes, Adam. And as the years passed, the alliance extended beyond military cooperation. The United States supported South Korea's economic development during a time when the country was working to create new industries and strengthen its economy. South Korea faced many challenges in these early decades, but with determination and international support, it transformed itself into one of the world's most successful economies. Modern South Korea is known for technology, innovation, education, and culture. And this progress is connected to many years of hard work and cooperation with global partners. The US played a role in supporting South Korea's early development, and over time, the partnership between them became more balanced, with both sides gaining important benefits from working together.
Another important part of this history is how the alliance grew during the Cold War. At that time, many countries were forming partnerships to protect themselves from growing tensions between global powers. South Korea and the United States continued to strengthen their cooperation because they shared similar goals for stability, peace, and development. This cooperation helped South Korea feel secure while it focused on building its economy and improving the lives of its people. For English learners, the word stability refers to a condition where things are steady, peaceful, and predictable. This stability allowed South Korea to invest in education, technology, and industrial growth, which eventually helped the country become a global leader in many fields.
And as the Cold War continued, the alliance adapted to new situations. South Korea grew stronger and more confident, and its economy expanded rapidly. This economic success helped South Korea become more independent and capable, but the partnership with the United States continued to play an important role. Over the decades, both countries developed a deeper understanding of each other's goals, cultures, and values. They began working together in not only security matters, but also trade, education, science, and cultural exchange. This shows how alliances can grow and change over time. They do not stay the same forever. Instead, they evolve as countries learn more about each other and discover new ways to cooperate.
Yes, Julia. Another point that helps us understand this history is the idea of shared interests. Both South Korea and the United States want peace, stability, and prosperity in the region. Prosperity means having economic success and good living conditions. Many of their goals align, which makes cooperation easier and more productive. This shared approach helped the alliance stay strong even when the world changed and new challenges appeared. Many global partnerships weaken over time, but the South Korea-US alliance remained active, because both countries believed in the benefits of working together. Today, their cooperation includes military strategy, technology development, economic partnerships, and cultural exchange programs that help students and workers learn from each other.
Yes, Adam. And this long history explains why the alliance continues to matter today. The relationship was not created quickly. It developed slowly, through shared experiences, common challenges, and mutual goals. For English learners, the word mutual means something shared between two sides. In this case, both countries share a commitment to peace and cooperation. Understanding this background makes it easier to understand why South Korea continues to strengthen its alliance with the United States in our present time. Today's decisions are connected to events from the past, and they help both countries prepare for future challenges in a safe and cooperative way.
So, dear listeners, when we look at this long history, we can see that the partnership between South Korea and the United States was shaped by many important events. It began after a difficult war, grew stronger during global tensions, and expanded into different areas such as trade, education, and technology. This cooperation created a foundation of trust and stability that still influences decisions today. For English learners, listening to these explanations helps you understand how historical events shape modern relationships and gives you useful vocabulary for discussing international topics.
And now that we understand how the alliance began and how it developed over time, we are ready to explore why the partnership continues to grow in the modern world. History gives us the background, and the next sections will explain the current reasons for deeper cooperation. Thank you for listening carefully to this long explanation, and take a moment to reflect on the new words and ideas you learned.
In this part of our episode, we will talk about something very important: South Korea's security challenges in Asia. Security challenges are problems or risks that a country faces which can affect its safety and stability. For South Korea, these challenges are not small. They are big, complicated, and long-lasting. To understand South Korea's foreign policy, how it makes friends, signs agreements, chooses allies, and plans for the future, we must first understand what dangers or pressures it feels around it. So in this section, I will explain the main security concerns South Korea has, and Julia will help us understand how these concerns shape the country's decisions.
Thank you, Adam. And yes, dear listeners, this is a very important topic. South Korea does not make decisions randomly. Every country has reasons for its foreign policy, and those reasons often come from the challenges it faces. South Korea is located in a very sensitive part of the world. The region is crowded, powerful, and sometimes tense. To understand South Korea's actions, we must carefully study the environment around it. So let's break it down slowly and clearly.
Let's start with the first and biggest security challenge South Korea faces: North Korea. North Korea is not just a neighbor, it is a country that has a long history of conflict with the South. Since the Korean War in the early 1950s, the two Koreas never signed a peace treaty. This means the war technically never ended. There is only a ceasefire, which is like saying, "We stop fighting for now." Because of this, the border between the two countries is one of the most heavily protected borders in the world. There are soldiers, fences, weapons, and constant monitoring. South Korea must always pay attention to what North Korea is doing, especially because North Korea has nuclear weapons and continues to test missiles. These tests create fear and uncertainty, not only for South Korea, but also for the whole region.
Yes, Adam. And this constant tension with North Korea is a major reason why South Korea works closely with the United States. The US has military bases in South Korea, and American troops help protect the region. Many people around the world may not know this, but for South Korea, the alliance with the US is strongly connected to the situation with North Korea. When North Korea tests a missile, South Korea's government must quickly think about how to respond, how to keep people safe, and how to prevent conflict. So North Korea is not just a political issue. It affects everyday life, national planning, and even international relationships.
Another security challenge South Korea faces is the growing power of China. China is South Korea's neighbor and also its biggest trading partner. This creates a very delicate situation. On one hand, South Korea needs strong economic ties with China because trade brings jobs, money, and stability. On the other hand, China is becoming more powerful in the region. It is building a stronger military, expanding its political influence, and increasing its presence in nearby seas. This makes South Korea think carefully about its own security and its position in Asia. If South Korea becomes too close to China, it might weaken its relationship with the United States. But if it becomes too close to the United States, it might upset China. This situation creates a constant balancing act, like walking on a thin rope.
That's right, Adam. And this balancing act is one of the biggest pressures on South Korea's foreign policy. The government must always consider how each decision will affect both China and the United States. For example, when South Korea agreed to install a US missile defense system called THAAD, China responded by limiting tourism and business activities with South Korea. This was a clear message showing how sensitive the relationship is. So, South Korea must think not only about military threats, but also economic risks. These connections shape every part of its foreign policy: trade deals, security agreements, and even cultural exchange programs.
The next major challenge is Japan, another powerful country in the region. South Korea and Japan are both strong U.S. allies, but their relationship is complicated because of historical issues. Events from the early 20th century, especially the period when Japan occupied Korea, still influence how people feel today. These emotional and historical memories can sometimes make cooperation difficult, even when both countries share similar interests, like protecting the region, supporting trade, and preparing for emergencies. But at the same time, both countries understand that working together can improve security.
Yes, and this is where foreign policy becomes very complex. South Korea must manage history, public opinion, and regional politics all at the same time. So when you see South Korea and Japan cooperating on technology, military exercises, or intelligence sharing, it means they are trying to look forward. But when relations become tense, it usually has something to do with unresolved historical issues. These ups and downs also affect how stable the region feels.
Another security challenge is the South China Sea and regional competition in Asia. Even though South Korea is not physically located in the South China Sea, it is deeply connected to it. Most of South Korea's ships pass through that area to bring goods to other countries. If the region becomes unstable, South Korea's economy could suffer. So South Korea must pay attention to maritime disputes, negotiations, and military activities happening far from its own coastline. This shows how modern security challenges are not only about borders, they are also about trade routes, oceans, and global connections.
Exactly. And this is why South Korea participates in regional meetings, international organizations, and diplomatic discussions. The country knows that security today is not only about soldiers or weapons, it is also about communication, cooperation, and alliances with other countries. So when South Korea takes part in regional dialogues, it is trying to prevent problems before they happen.
Finally, South Korea faces cybersecurity challenges. In today's digital world, many threats come through computers, networks, and online systems. South Korea is one of the most technologically advanced countries in the world, so it must protect its digital infrastructure. Cyber attacks can affect banks, electricity, transportation, and government websites. South Korea regularly faces cyber threats, especially from North Korea, which makes cybersecurity an important part of national defense.
And this again shapes foreign policy. South Korea works with countries like the US, Japan, and members of the European Union to share information about cyber threats, develop new technologies, and strengthen defenses. This cooperation helps South Korea stay safe in a world where digital threats are growing.
So, dear listeners, these are the main security challenges South Korea faces: tension with North Korea, the rise of China, complicated relations with Japan, competition in the region, cybersecurity threats. Each of these challenges affects how South Korea builds partnerships, signs agreements, and prepares for the future.
Yes, and understanding these challenges helps us understand why South Korea makes the choices it does. Nothing happens without reason. Every policy comes from a need, a concern, or a goal. And now that we have explored these challenges, we can move to the next section where we look at how South Korea responds to them.
South Korea is very important to the United States because of its location in Asia. It is near China, Japan, and North Korea, which makes it a strategic point for security and trade. The U.S. wants to work closely with South Korea to keep the region calm and stable. When countries in Asia cooperate, it is easier to prevent conflicts, support economic growth, and maintain peace. South Korea's position allows the United States to respond quickly to any problems that might arise in the region, helping to protect both countries' interests.
Yes, Adam. Stability is a major reason for this alliance. The US wants a peaceful environment in Asia where countries can trade, communicate, and solve problems without fear of sudden conflict. South Korea plays an important role in this because it has strong military forces, a stable government, and a clear commitment to democracy. By working together, the United States and South Korea can reduce regional tensions, conduct joint military exercises, and share information that helps maintain safety and security for all countries nearby.
Another key reason is economic cooperation. South Korea is a strong economy with advanced technology, manufacturing, and trade networks. The U.S. benefits when South Korea is economically stable because it supports trade, investment, and innovation. Both countries work together in areas like electronics, automobiles, digital technology, and renewable energy. By strengthening the alliance, the United States can ensure that trade routes remain open, markets stay predictable, and economic development continues smoothly, which is good for businesses and workers in both countries.
Exactly, Adam. The United States also values shared democratic values with South Korea. Both countries support free elections, open discussion, human rights, and transparency. These common beliefs make it easier for the countries to trust each other and work together. Shared democratic principles help both countries solve problems diplomatically rather than with conflict. For English learners, words like democratic, principles, and transparency are useful because they describe important ideas about governments and cooperation in the modern world.
Finally, this alliance fits into a larger U.S. strategy in the Asia-Pacific region. The United States wants strong partnerships with countries that can maintain balance and peace in Asia. By working with South Korea, the U.S. can coordinate military planning, share intelligence, and support regional development projects. This cooperation makes the alliance more effective because it strengthens trust, builds resilience against challenges, and ensures that both countries can respond to security threats or economic changes quickly and efficiently.
Yes, Adam. The combination of stability, economic cooperation, shared values, and regional strategy explains why the United States wants a closer relationship with South Korea. For English learners, this discussion is a good way to hear complex ideas in simple words. Understanding these reasons helps us see how countries work together to achieve common goals. By listening carefully, learners can also practice new vocabulary, improve comprehension, and learn to explain international relationships in simple English.
So, dear listeners, we can see that the U.S. has multiple reasons for strengthening its alliance with South Korea. Security, trade, shared values, and regional strategy all play a role. This partnership is not only about defense, it is about trust, long-term planning, and supporting each other in many ways. By understanding these reasons, we can better appreciate the decisions made by both countries and why their cooperation continues to grow stronger over time.
Exactly, Adam. And as we continue our podcast, we will explore how South Korea views this alliance and why it is actively choosing to work more closely with the United States today. Understanding both sides helps us see the full picture of international cooperation, and it also gives English learners a chance to practice listening to real-world discussions about global events in simple English.
South Korea works closely with the United States because it helps the country achieve important strategic goals. Strategy means careful planning for safety, stability, and long-term success. By cooperating with the U.S., South Korea strengthens its position in Asia, where many countries have competing interests. This partnership allows South Korea to feel more secure while managing challenges from neighbors like North Korea and balancing relations with China and Japan. Alliances like this are essential for countries to protect their people and maintain peace. Exactly, Julia. One key part of this alliance is technology partnerships. South Korea is a leader in electronics, smartphones, semiconductors, and advanced digital systems, and the U.S. is a leader in innovation, research, and development. By working together, both countries share knowledge, develop new technologies, and stay competitive globally. This cooperation benefits businesses, creates jobs, and ensures that both countries remain strong in industries that shape the future. For English learners, words like partnership, innovation, and competitive are very useful in global discussions. Another important reason South Korea strengthens ties with the U.S. is trade and economic cooperation. South Korea exports cars, electronics, and other goods around the world, and having a reliable partner like the United States ensures markets remain open and stable. Trade agreements, joint projects, and investment opportunities help South Korea grow its economy, create jobs, and support industries. At the same time, the United States benefits from access to South Korea's markets, talent, and advanced technology. Both countries gain advantages from this economic collaboration, which makes the alliance valuable beyond military or security reasons. Military cooperation is also a major factor. The U.S. has troops in South Korea, and both countries conduct regular joint exercises and training programs. These activities improve readiness, strengthen communication, and ensure that both militaries can respond to emergencies together. Military partnerships also send a signal to other countries that South Korea has strong allies, which can discourage conflicts and support regional stability. For English learners, terms like cooperation, training, and readiness are useful when talking about alliances and defense planning.
Yes, Adam, and alliances like this also give South Korea global influence. By working closely with the United States, South Korea participates in international discussions, diplomatic meetings, and regional forums. This allows the country to contribute to decisions about trade, security, climate, and technology on a global scale. Influence means the ability to shape decisions, policies, or outcomes, and South Korea can achieve more when it works with a strong partner. This shows that alliances benefit countries politically as well as economically, allowing them to have a voice in world affairs.
Furthermore, cooperation with the U.S. helps South Korea plan for the future. Technology, trade, military strength, and diplomacy all connect to long-term stability. By investing in these areas through partnership, South Korea can manage risks, respond to challenges, and strengthen its economy and defense systems simultaneously. This is especially important in a region like Asia, where rapid changes in economics, technology, and politics happen frequently. Strategic alliances help countries like South Korea prepare for both opportunities and potential difficulties before they become urgent problems.
Another aspect is that South Korea benefits from shared research, education, and scientific projects with the United States. Universities, research centers, and private companies often work together to develop new technologies, medical treatments, and energy solutions. This kind of collaboration creates knowledge, trains skilled workers, and builds innovation hubs that support the country's long-term growth. For English learners, these words, collaboration, innovation, research, are very useful because they explain how countries can grow and solve problems together.
Finally, it is important to understand that alliances like this are not one-sided. Both countries gain benefits. South Korea gains security, technology, trade opportunities, and global influence, while the U.S. gains a reliable partner in a strategic region, access to new markets, and opportunities for technological development. This mutual benefit is what makes the partnership strong and long-lasting. Understanding these strategic and economic interests helps listeners see why South Korea actively chooses to work closely with the United States in today's complex world.
So, dear listeners, when we look at technology partnerships, trade, military cooperation, research, and global influence together, it becomes clear why South Korea invests in its alliance with the US. The partnership strengthens the country in many ways, supports its development, and helps it play an important role in regional and global affairs. For English learners, this discussion also provides valuable vocabulary and clear examples of how international cooperation works in practice, which can improve both listening and understanding of global issues.
Yes, Julia. South Korea's strategic and economic interests show that alliances are more than just agreements on paper. They create practical advantages, increase stability, and open doors for growth in technology, trade, and diplomacy. By learning about these benefits, listeners can understand how countries make decisions, why partnerships are important, and how cooperation shapes the modern world. This knowledge also gives learners new words and phrases that are useful for discussing international relations in English. South Korea and the United States cooperate in technology, trade, and innovation because both countries understand that combining their strengths in areas like semiconductors, artificial intelligence, green energy, and advanced manufacturing allows them to stay competitive globally, create new industries, support economic growth, and ensure that critical technologies are safe, reliable, and used efficiently to benefit businesses, governments, and people in both nations, while also strengthening their alliance for long-term strategic stability.
One of the most important areas of cooperation is semiconductors, which are tiny electronic chips used in phones, computers, cars, and even defense systems. And South Korea is a global leader in production, while the United States provides design expertise, specialized equipment, and advanced research. So by working together, both countries strengthen supply chains, improve efficiency, create jobs, and ensure that technology continues to grow while supporting national security and global competitiveness for industries in both countries.
Artificial intelligence, or AI, is another area where collaboration is crucial because AI allows machines to learn, make decisions, and perform tasks that usually require human intelligence, and by combining South Korea's expertise in robotics, healthcare, and smart cities with the United States' strengths in software, machine learning, and cloud systems, both countries can develop more advanced solutions, reduce costs, increase productivity, and use AI safely in ways that improve daily life, support businesses, and strengthen security systems in the region.
Green energy cooperation is also very significant because both countries are committed to reducing pollution, addressing climate change, and creating sustainable energy sources. And South Korea contributes advanced technology in solar panels, electric vehicles, and energy storage, while the United States provides research, global innovation strategies, and investment. So by collaborating, both countries can share knowledge, fund joint projects, improve the environment, grow their economies, and create a cleaner, safer future for citizens and industries alike.
Advanced manufacturing is another key area of collaboration, as South Korea has highly efficient factories and robotic systems for producing high-quality goods, while the United States provides specialized machinery, software, and research that increase productivity and reduce waste. And by working together, both countries can produce competitive products like cars, electronics, and industrial equipment, improve trade, enhance technological innovation, create jobs, and strengthen economic and strategic ties that make the alliance stronger and more resilient over time.
Trade and innovation are deeply connected because cooperation in these areas helps both countries create economic growth, support industries, and generate jobs. And when engineers, researchers, and businesses work on joint projects in semiconductors, AI, green energy, or manufacturing, knowledge is shared, smaller companies can innovate, and new products reach the market faster, which benefits both economies while also strengthening the alliance, improving global influence, and showing that partnerships can create long-term opportunities beyond security or politics.
Cooperation in technology, trade, and innovation also increases global influence, because countries that lead in these areas have more say in international discussions about economy, security, and standards, and by working together, South Korea and the United States can help establish rules, promote fair trade, encourage technological progress, and contribute to sustainable development while improving competitiveness, building trust, and ensuring that both countries have a stronger voice in regional and global decisions that affect multiple nations and industries.
Finally, these partnerships go beyond governments because universities, research centers, companies, and private individuals all participate in joint projects, creating networks of knowledge, shared skills, and technological advances. And these networks help South Korea and the United States remain competitive, grow economically, prepare for future challenges, strengthen security, and support innovation, while also giving English learners a clear example of how collaboration in science, technology, and trade can benefit countries politically, economically, and socially.
South Korea and the United States cooperate in technology, trade, and innovation because both countries understand that combining their strengths in areas like semiconductors, artificial intelligence, green energy, and advanced manufacturing allows them to stay competitive globally, create new industries, support economic growth, and ensure that critical technologies are safe, reliable, and used efficiently to benefit businesses, governments, and people in both nations, while also strengthening their alliance for long-term strategic stability.
One of the most important areas of cooperation is semiconductors, which are tiny electronic chips used in phones, computers, cars, and even defense systems. And South Korea is a global leader in production, while the United States provides design expertise, specialized equipment, and advanced research. So by working together, both countries strengthen supply chains, improve efficiency, create jobs, and ensure that technology continues to grow while supporting national security and global competitiveness for industries in both countries.
Artificial intelligence, or AI, is another area where collaboration is crucial because AI allows machines to learn, make decisions, and perform tasks that usually require human intelligence. And by combining South Korea's expertise in robotics, healthcare, and smart cities with the United States' strengths in software, machine learning, and cloud systems, both countries can develop more advanced solutions, reduce costs, increase productivity, and use AI safely in ways that improve daily life, support businesses, and strengthen security systems in the region.
Green energy cooperation is also very significant because both countries are committed to reducing pollution, addressing climate change, and creating sustainable energy sources. And South Korea contributes advanced technology in solar panels, electric vehicles, and energy storage, while the United States provides research, global innovation strategies, and investment. So by collaborating, both countries can share knowledge, fund joint projects, improve the environment, grow their economies, and create a cleaner, safer future for citizens and industries alike.
Advanced manufacturing is another key area of collaboration, as South Korea has highly efficient factories and robotic systems for producing high-quality goods, while the United States provides specialized machinery, software, and research that increase productivity and reduce waste. And by working together, both countries can produce competitive products like cars, electronics, and industrial equipment, improve trade, enhance technological innovation, create jobs, and strengthen economic and strategic ties that make the alliance stronger and more resilient over time.
Trade and innovation are deeply connected because cooperation in these areas helps both countries create economic growth, support industries, and generate jobs. And when engineers, researchers, and businesses work on joint projects in semiconductors, AI, green energy, or manufacturing, knowledge is shared, smaller companies can innovate, and new products reach the market faster, which benefits both economies while also strengthening the alliance, improving global influence, and showing that partnerships can create long-term opportunities beyond security or politics.
Cooperation in technology, trade, and innovation also increases global influence because countries that lead in these areas have more say in international discussions about economy, security, and standards, and by working together, South Korea and the United States can help establish rules, promote fair trade, encourage technological progress, and contribute to sustainable development while improving competitiveness, building trust, and ensuring that both countries have a stronger voice in regional and global decisions that affect multiple nations and industries.
Finally, these partnerships go beyond governments because universities, research centers, companies, and private individuals all participate in joint projects, creating networks of knowledge, shared skills, and technological advances. And these networks help South Korea and the United States remain competitive, grow economically, prepare for future challenges, strengthen security, and support innovation, while also giving English learners a clear example of how collaboration in science, technology, and trade can benefit countries politically, economically, and socially. Dear listeners, when we talk about South Korea's security and its alliance with the United States, we cannot ignore the role of North Korea, which is an important factor in why South Korea seeks strong partnerships, because North Korea's military developments, such as missile programs, nuclear capabilities, and large armed forces, create challenges for the entire region. And South Korea needs to plan carefully to protect its people, borders, and national interests, while also maintaining calm and avoiding conflict whenever possible. Which is why education about security strategies is so important for understanding the alliance.
Yes, Julia. North Korea's actions influence South Korea's choices in many ways, because when a neighboring country increases its military capabilities or tests new weapons, it creates uncertainty about the future. And even though South Korea hopes for peaceful resolution, the government must prepare for possible risks, which includes strengthening alliances with partners like the United States, conducting joint exercises, sharing intelligence, and maintaining a strong defense, all while carefully balancing diplomacy, dialogue, and international cooperation to prevent escalation and maintain stability in the region.
Exactly, Adam. And for English learners, words like uncertainty, prepare, alliances, diplomacy, and stability are very useful because they describe how countries respond to challenges in thoughtful and careful ways, showing that security does not always mean conflict or fear, but rather planning, coordination, and collaboration. And South Korea's decision to work closely with the United States is a strategic choice to manage risks, ensure protection, and maintain regional balance without promoting tension or aggression.
Another reason North Korea's actions strengthen the alliance is that South Korea seeks reassurance and support from the United States, which is a longtime partner with experience, resources, and capabilities that help maintain peace and security. And this reassurance is not about fear or hostility, but about knowing that both countries can cooperate to respond effectively to emergencies, share information, plan military exercises carefully, and ensure that South Korea can rely on a trusted partner, while also working toward diplomatic solutions and regional stability, which benefits all nations in Northeast Asia.
Yes, Adam. In addition to military factors, North Korea's unpredictable behavior, including occasional provocative statements or actions, emphasizes the importance of strong communication between South Korea and the United States, because regular dialogue, joint planning, and shared intelligence allow both countries to anticipate challenges, respond quickly to developments, and create strategies that reduce risks, improve safety, and maintain peace, which is especially important for teaching listeners about how countries cooperate carefully and responsibly in international relations.
It is also important to understand that South Korea's strategy is defensive, not offensive, meaning the country focuses on protecting itself, deterring threats, and preventing conflicts rather than attacking or provoking others. And this is a key reason why strong alliances matter, because working with the United States allows South Korea to maintain advanced technology, military readiness, and coordinated planning, while still pursuing dialogue, humanitarian initiatives, and peaceful solutions, which shows listeners that alliances are tools for safety, stability, and preparedness, rather than conflict or aggression.
Exactly, Adam. The alliance provides South Korea with a combination of security and confidence, because knowing that a strong partner is nearby allows leaders to make careful decisions about defense budgets, diplomacy, and regional cooperation, and it also enables South Korea to participate more actively in global forums, share ideas about peacebuilding, and invest in research and innovation without being paralyzed by uncertainty or fear, which is an important lesson for English learners, as it teaches how countries can work together to protect people responsibly.
Furthermore, this alliance strengthens South Korea's ability to balance regional relationships, because Northeast Asia includes several powerful countries, and careful planning, military coordination, and diplomatic cooperation help South Korea navigate complex situations, maintain open trade, and support peaceful communication with neighbors, while also ensuring that unexpected events do not escalate into serious problems, which is why understanding the role of North Korea helps listeners see that alliances are not only about immediate threats, but also about long-term strategic thinking, stability, and shared responsibility.
Yes, Adam. Another educational point is that South Korea and the United States often conduct joint military exercises which are planned carefully to avoid creating fear or tension. And these exercises help both countries coordinate responses, improve communication, test strategies, and maintain readiness in case of emergencies, which is a standard part of defensive alliances around the world, showing English learners that cooperation and preparation are important tools for security, trust, and regional peace, without implying hostility toward any country.
It is also essential to highlight that dialogue and diplomacy remain central to the alliance, because while North Korea's actions may create challenges, South Korea and the United States continue to pursue talks, international cooperation, and multilateral engagement to reduce risks, prevent conflicts, and encourage peaceful solutions. And this shows listeners that security planning is always paired with communication and collaboration, emphasizing the educational principle that countries can act responsibly without promoting fear or aggression.
Yes, Adam. Listeners should also note that alliances like this provide an opportunity for shared learning, because South Korea gains access to advanced technology, intelligence, and strategic expertise from the United States, while the United States benefits from South Korea's geographic position, local knowledge, and regional influence, and by sharing knowledge and experience, both countries improve their decision-making, resilience, and ability to respond to challenges, which is a model of cooperation that English learners can understand and apply when thinking about international relations.
In addition, the alliance encourages South Korea to invest in its own defense capabilities responsibly, including technology, personnel, and planning, knowing that support from the United States is available if needed, and this combination of self-reliance and partnership demonstrates to listeners that strong alliances are built on mutual respect, shared goals, and coordinated strategies, and they show how countries prepare for uncertainties without promoting fear, emphasizing careful education, stability, and strategic cooperation in a complex world.
Finally, dear listeners, understanding North Korea's role in strengthening the alliance teaches us that international relationships are about prevention, coordination, and long-term planning, because South Korea seeks to protect its citizens, maintain peace, and promote regional stability while working with a trusted partner like the United States. And this is a valuable lesson for English learners, showing that alliances are tools for safety, cooperation, and responsible decision-making, rather than conflict or hostility, and that countries can act strategically and calmly, even when facing challenges.
So, Julia, by examining the influence of North Korea, we can see why South Korea values its alliance with the United States, because strong partnerships provide reassurance, support defensive strategies, encourage dialogue, and improve coordination, allowing both countries to navigate complex regional situations safely, maintain trade and communication, invest in technology, and participate in global cooperation, which demonstrates that alliances are not only about security, but also about planning for the future, stability, and responsible international engagement.
Exactly, Adam. And for English learners, this discussion highlights useful vocabulary such as reassurance, coordination, defensive strategy, dialogue, regional stability, and alliance, which help describe how countries work together carefully, solve problems responsibly, and maintain peace while learning to communicate about international affairs in simple, clear, and educational English, which is exactly the purpose of our podcast here at the English Globe.
In conclusion, the role of North Korea in shaping South Korea's choices shows how alliances provide practical benefits, build confidence, and ensure that countries can act safely, responsibly, and strategically while maintaining peace, protecting citizens, supporting regional cooperation, and preparing for future challenges. And for English learners, these explanations offer both vocabulary and real-world context for understanding how partnerships function, why they are important, and how international security can be approached in a careful, neutral, and educational manner.
Yes, Adam and dear listeners, when we consider North Korea's actions, South Korea's security needs, and the value of its alliance with the United States, we see that strong, responsible partnerships are essential for regional stability, economic development, and technological cooperation, and that careful planning, communication, and shared expertise allow countries to protect their citizens and work together in a calm, strategic, and educational way, providing an excellent opportunity for learners to practice English while understanding global affairs.
When we examine the South Korea-US alliance, it is important to understand how nearby countries like China and Japan view this partnership, because the presence of a strong alliance can influence regional dynamics, trade relationships, and security planning, and understanding these reactions helps us see the bigger picture of international relations, showing that alliances are not only about one country, but also about how neighbors interpret, respond, and plan their own strategies, which is crucial for learning global English vocabulary and concepts.
Yes, Adam. China and Japan each have unique perspectives, shaped by their history, geography, economy, and security concerns. And while South Korea and the United States see their alliance as a way to maintain stability and mutual benefits, China and Japan interpret the alliance in ways that reflect their own interests, emphasizing caution, diplomacy, and strategic planning. which teaches listeners that countries do not all see the same events the same way, and that analysing multiple viewpoints is an important skill for understanding international affairs and practicing English discussion.
From China's perspective, the South Korea-US alliance is often observed carefully, because China is a major neighbor with economic, political, and security interests in the region, and while China supports peace and stability, it also monitors alliances to ensure that its own national interests, trade partnerships, and regional influence are maintained, which shows English learners that understanding other countries' positions requires attention to multiple factors, including economics, history, military planning, and diplomacy, and that these factors shape policy and international reactions.
Exactly, Adam. Meanwhile, Japan has a different approach, as it shares security concerns with both South Korea and the United States, particularly in terms of regional threats, trade, and stability, and Japan often values partnerships that promote coordination, defense readiness, and economic cooperation. But it also balances its relationships carefully, respecting each country's sovereignty and interests, which is an important lesson for listeners, because it shows how neighbouring countries may support alliances while managing their own strategies and priorities responsibly.
It is also important to note that China and Japan do not react with hostility in most cases, but rather with caution and analysis, because countries often observe alliances to understand potential changes in trade, security, or regional influence. And this careful observation allows them to plan diplomacy, economic agreements, and communication strategies that protect their own citizens while promoting peaceful cooperation, which is a useful concept for English learners to understand how international relations work in practice.
Yes, Adam. Different perspectives can also create opportunities for dialogue, because when countries understand each other's concerns and priorities, they can negotiate, coordinate, and collaborate on matters like trade, climate initiatives, disaster response, and technological projects, which strengthens regional stability without conflict. And it shows listeners that alliances are not about excluding neighbours or creating tension, but about creating a framework for responsible cooperation, communication, and learning from each other.
Another educational point is that observing how China and Japan respond helps South Korea and the United States adjust their alliance carefully, focusing on shared goals such as economic growth, technological innovation, regional security, and humanitarian initiatives. And by understanding regional reactions, both countries can plan activities, joint projects, and diplomatic outreach in ways that maintain balance, respect neighbors, and encourage constructive collaboration, which demonstrates to English learners how strategic thinking and awareness are applied in global partnerships.
Exactly, Adam. Listening to different viewpoints also provides language learners with new vocabulary, such as perspective, coordination, regional stability, diplomacy, sovereignty, and strategic planning, which are useful when discussing international relations, trade, and security in English. And learning these words in context helps learners understand not only the meaning, but also how countries act responsibly, observe, and adjust strategies to maintain peaceful relationships in a complex region like East Asia.
In addition, China and Japan both participate in regional forums and international organizations where they discuss issues like trade agreements, technology cooperation, climate change, and peace initiatives, and the South Korea-US alliance is often considered in these discussions as part of the broader regional framework, which allows countries to coordinate strategies, exchange ideas, and build mutual trust while respecting sovereignty, showing listeners that alliances influence not only security, but also trade, research, and diplomatic engagement, all of which are topics that English learners can practice discussing.
Yes, Adam. For example, when the alliance conducts joint technology or economic projects, neighbouring countries observe potential impacts on regional trade and innovation, but they usually respond by adjusting policies or creating their own initiatives rather than opposing partnerships directly, which is a calm, measured approach that demonstrates how countries balance their interests while contributing to stability, providing an important lesson for listeners about neutrality, cooperation, and the practical implications of alliances in international relations.
Furthermore, the alliance encourages both South Korea and the United States to communicate clearly with neighbors, share intentions about joint exercises, trade policies, and innovation projects, and explain that their cooperation is defensive, economic, and educational rather than aggressive, which helps maintain trust, reduce misunderstandings, and foster collaboration in areas such as technology, climate action, trade agreements, and regional security planning, showing English learners how careful communication is a key tool in global diplomacy.
Exactly. Another point is that observing regional reactions helps South Korea and the United States improve their decision-making, because understanding China's priorities, Japan's security concerns, and shared economic interests allows both countries to design strategies that are mutually beneficial, respectful, and forward-looking, which teaches listeners that alliances are not only about defense or agreements, but also about education, planning, diplomacy, and listening carefully to the perspectives of others in a peaceful and constructive way.
It is also useful for English learners to notice that neutral, respectful, and educational language is key when discussing international relations, because words and tone matter when describing alliances, cooperation, and reactions of other countries, and by using phrases like observe carefully, maintain balance, respect sovereignty, and coordinate strategies, learners can improve both vocabulary and comprehension while understanding how countries interact thoughtfully in real-world situations.
Yes, Adam, and dear listeners, the reactions of China and Japan show that alliances like South Korea-US are part of a larger regional system where communication, observation, and careful planning create stability, support economic growth, promote innovation, and encourage peaceful collaboration, which is an important lesson for learners because it demonstrates how countries work together, respect neighbors, and plan responsibly, all while providing practical English vocabulary for discussing global affairs in a calm, educational way.
Finally, understanding these regional reactions helps listeners see that international partnerships are multidimensional, including defense, trade, technology, diplomacy, and education, and observing the perspectives of neighbors such as China and Japan provides insight into how alliances can promote cooperation, prevent misunderstandings, and strengthen regional and global stability, which teaches English learners how to describe complex topics clearly, use precise vocabulary, and discuss world events in a safe, neutral, and respectful manner.
Yes, Adam. So, when we analyze the South Korea-US alliance, we can see that understanding how China and Japan view this partnership is essential for learning about diplomacy, strategy, and global cooperation. And this perspective encourages listeners to practice new words, understand international reactions, and apply knowledge of neutral and educational English when discussing regional politics, trade, security, and technology, all of which improves both comprehension and speaking skills for learners around the world.
In conclusion, dear listeners, observing regional reactions from China and Japan shows that alliances like South Korea-US are not only about military or economic benefits, but also about communication, planning, coordination, and education, allowing countries to work together responsibly, build trust, manage regional interests, and promote peace. And for English learners, this discussion provides practical examples, key vocabulary, and clear explanations of how international partnerships function in a careful, neutral, and constructive way suitable for learning global English. As we come to the final section of today's podcast, it is important to review and summarize the main ideas we discussed about the South Korea-US alliance and its impact on Asia, so you can understand everything more clearly and also practice English at the same time. Today, we explored why South Korea and the United States work closely together, looking at history, security, economic partnerships, technology, and regional reactions. This summary will help you remember new words and concepts while improving your listening and comprehension skills.
Yes, Adam. Let's start by remembering the history of the alliance. South Korea and the United States formed a partnership after the Korean War, which helped South Korea rebuild and maintain security in the region. Over the years, this alliance grew stronger during the Cold War and continued to develop as both countries faced new challenges. For English learners, words like partnership, alliance, security, and rebuild are important vocabulary to understand how countries work together responsibly.
Exactly, Julia. We also discussed South Korea's security challenges, which include North Korea's military programs and regional uncertainties. Because of these challenges, South Korea seeks reassurance and strong cooperation with the United States. Listening carefully, you can notice words like challenges, reassurance, cooperation, and defensive strategy. These words help learners describe situations where countries plan carefully and work together to maintain safety without creating fear or hostility.
Another key point is understanding why the United States wants a stronger alliance. The US benefits from stability in Asia, economic cooperation, and shared democratic values. This partnership supports trade, technological innovation, and regional coordination, which are all important for long-term development. English learners can focus on vocabulary like stability, cooperation, partnership, and innovation to describe positive collaboration between countries.
Yes, Julia and South Korea's strategic and economic interests also help explain the alliance. South Korea works closely with the U.S. to strengthen technology partnerships, expand trade, improve military cooperation, and increase global influence. These efforts create mutual benefits for both countries while supporting regional growth. Key vocabulary here includes strategic, economic, partnership, global influence, and mutual benefits, which learners can use in both academic and everyday English discussions.
We also talked about technology, trade, and innovation cooperation. South Korea and the United States collaborate in areas like semiconductors, artificial intelligence, green energy, and advanced manufacturing. These partnerships encourage learning, investment, and shared growth. For English learners, understanding words like innovation, technology, cooperation, and manufacturing helps you describe how countries work together in practical, real-world situations.
An important factor we explored is the role of North Korea in strengthening the alliance. North Korea's actions influence South Korea's security choices, making it important to have strong reassurance from the United States. This is not about fear, but about planning, preparation, and collaboration. Words like reassurance, planning, preparation, and coordination are useful for learners to explain how countries respond responsibly to challenges.
Yes, Adam. We also examined regional reactions from China and Japan. Different countries view the South Korea-US alliance in various ways, depending on their own interests, history, and security concerns. Some countries observe carefully, while others participate in discussions and regional forums. Words like perspective, neutral, cooperation, and regional stability are helpful for English learners to describe multiple viewpoints without creating conflict or bias.
Finally, we discussed how the alliance shapes Asia's future. Cooperation between South Korea and the United States affects peace, economics, innovation, and regional stability. These partnerships encourage trade, technology sharing, educational projects, and careful planning. English learners can use vocabulary such as future, regional stability, partnership, innovation, and economic development to talk about long-term effects of international cooperation.
Now, dear listeners, let's do a short comprehension activity to help you remember key ideas from today's episode. I will ask some simple questions, and you can try to answer them in English or in your own words. First question: why do countries form alliances? Think carefully about what we discussed regarding security, trade, and shared goals. This question helps you practice explaining ideas clearly and using new vocabulary.
Great, Julia. Here is another question. What are South Korea's main goals in working with the United States? Remember that we talked about defense, technology, economic growth, and regional stability. Try to answer in full sentences using words like security, cooperation, technology, and partnership. These exercises are very useful for English learners because they help you practice writing, speaking, and thinking in English while using relevant vocabulary in context.
Here is one more question. How does the alliance benefit both South Korea and the United States? Think about trade, technological collaboration, and shared responsibilities. You can answer in simple sentences. For example, the alliance helps South Korea improve security, and it helps the United States maintain stability in Asia. These kinds of exercises make learning English easier because they connect vocabulary to real-world examples in a calm, educational way.
Exactly, Julia. Remember, dear listeners, the purpose of these questions is not to test you in a stressful way, but to encourage reflection, vocabulary practice, and comprehension. You can write your answers in the comments if you like, which also allows you to share your thoughts and interact with other English learners around the world. Using English actively like this is one of the best ways to improve your skills.
Yes, Adam. And we want to remind our listeners that learning English while exploring global topics can be fun and educational. By listening carefully, repeating new words, and practicing comprehension questions, you can expand your vocabulary, improve your speaking, and feel more confident using English to discuss real-world issues. This approach helps you learn both language and content at the same time.
Dear listeners, we also want to encourage you to keep a positive mindset about learning English. Consistency is very important. Even if you only spend a few minutes each day listening, writing answers, or practicing new vocabulary, these small steps will help you gradually improve. Remember that learning a language is like building a bridge. Each word, sentence, and conversation strengthens your ability to communicate clearly and confidently.
Exactly, Adam. So, keep practicing, be patient with yourself, and enjoy the process. Learning English takes time, but it is very rewarding. Use what you learned in today's podcast to answer our questions, discuss with friends, or even write a short summary of the episode in your own words. This kind of practice helps your brain remember vocabulary, sentence structures, and ideas more effectively, and it makes learning both meaningful and enjoyable.
Finally, we want to leave you with a positive message. Remember that English is a tool to understand the world, share ideas, and connect with others. Every step you take in listening, speaking, or writing improves your skills. Keep exploring, practicing, and asking questions, because curiosity and effort are the keys to success in learning any language. With patience and persistence, you can achieve your goals.
Yes, Adam. And dear listeners, thank you very much for joining us today on the English Globe. We hope this episode helped you understand the South Korea-US alliance, regional cooperation, and how partnerships shape Asia's future, while also giving you useful English vocabulary, phrases, and comprehension practice. Keep learning, stay motivated, and always believe in your ability to improve. Your journey in English is valuable and rewarding.
Exactly, Julia. We are very happy to have shared this educational discussion with you. Remember to like the video, subscribe to the English Globe, and write your answers to the questions in the comments. Share where you are listening from and any thoughts about the episode. Your participation helps us create more helpful content for learners all over the world. Keep practicing, and remember that learning English can be interesting, practical, and fun every day.
So, dear listeners, This concludes our long discussion and reflection for today. Keep reviewing the vocabulary. Think about the comprehension questions and use English actively. With consistent practice, you will see improvement in your understanding, listening, speaking, and confidence. Thank you again for joining us, and we look forward to exploring more topics with you in future episodes of the English Globe. Keep learning and enjoy your journey.